Hello, welcome to another afternoon at MSK Innovations. I'm your host, TJ Halverson. Today we have another great event lined up for you. Before we introduce the presenting companies in our panel, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's event, the DeAngelis Group, leader in executive search in the musculoskeletal industry. Today we have two companies presenting, TYBR Health and SynerFuse. On the panel, we have Drew DeAngelis, Jerry DeVries, and Chris Lyons. Going to give each of these gentlemen just a quick moment to introduce themselves. Let's start with Jerry, first time on the panel.
Yeah, thanks, TJ. Hello, everybody. Jerry DeVries. I'm based out of Austin and Park City, healthcare operator and investor. Kind of earned my chops back in the day with Sulzer Orthopedics. And then we moved from there and created a small venture fund with Austin Ventures. And we funded one company that went kaput. The other one was LDR Spine, also known as LDR Innovations, which went public back in September 2013. So since then, been doing a lot of investing in digital health. Did a health plan called Employer Direct, which was a huge success. And we exited that from one of our funds at $1 billion valuation. And so right now I work a lot with TJO, Total Joint Orthopedics in Salt Lake City. But, pediatric home health is one of my big focuses right now, a company called Open Markets, et cetera. So I love healthcare and I'm a curious fellow. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Jerry. Really appreciate it. Mr. Lyons, give you a moment.
Great to see everybody and to be here with everyone. Looking forward to the presentations today. So I've been in the industry 36 years, all pretty much Memphis based, with about 13 years Medtronic Spine, 13 years at Smith & Nephew. And now I can officially say with Southern Metrics Consulting, I have been doing M&A for 18 years, which is now officially half my career. And I'm like, when did this happen? But anyway, great to see everybody.
Yeah, thanks for joining again. And last but not least, Drew.
Yeah, hello, everybody. Drew DeAngelis with the DeAngelis Group, also with MSK Innovations. TJ and I co-founded this a little more than a year ago to help entrepreneurs access capital and gain general awareness. So it's been a kind of a labor of love. And then last year, we acquired Orthopedics This Week. So trying to turn that into something more meaningful to the community, and have done a fair bit of investment work with some startups and do some advising as well. So it's a pleasure to be on the other side of the table today.
Yeah, awesome. Well, quick note, MSK Innovations, we are not a broker dealer nor an investment advisor. This is for informational purposes only and not investment advice. Conduct your own due diligence prior to making any investment. And with that, we will get started with our first presentation with Chris Wright at TYBR Health. Chris, take it away.
Great. Thank you, TJ. First of all, thank you, everybody, for showing up today on the panel. And Drew and TJ, thank you for inviting us to share our story. So pulling this up now. Okay, great. Do we see the cover page there?
We got it.
Great. Well, hello, my name is Chris Wright. I am the Chief Commercial Officer for TYBR Health. We are based out of Houston, Texas, in the TMC J&J Innovation Labs. For those of you that are familiar with that incubator, that's down in the Texas Medical Center. I came to the TYBR Health through almost 3 years ago now via my consulting practice, Optimal Link Partners, where we help them really lay out some of the commercial strategy and do some market intel with surgeons. And it really has become probably my favorite project that I help assist with companies right now. So TYBR Health is bringing to market. We are now celebrating, I guess, a little over a month of our FDA clearance, our B3 gel system. So what we aim to provide a solution for is the protection of tendons and ligaments postoperatively. Every year, there's about 820,000 procedures just on tendons and ligaments We know that the best case scenario is about 60% of function is restored in these cases. These cases range everything from hand to foot and ankle to knees to shoulders. And really where we decided to drill down on the market launch is really on hand and wrists, so because that has the highest reoperation rate at 20% with tenolysis for those patients that have hand surgery. As you can imagine, for those of you that have had hand surgery, or if those of you that haven't, your hand is probably the one piece of your body that you use on a regular basis every day, and we take for granted what we can do with our hands until you have surgery, you have that adhesion problem, and then your range of motion is decreased and you're having pain. So we hope that with the B3 gel system, we can apply at least better range of motion and help decrease some of those adhesions. But there's a deeper cost to all of the reoperation. So at best case scenario, 6 weeks post hand and wrist surgery is when you would have your recovery. But because there's 20% of those procedures that go back to surgery, it actually not only doubles the amount of time at 12 weeks, but it also over doubles the cost for the of the whole procedure by adding that reoperation. So it is a costly complication, these adhesions and internal scarring. So the indirect cost overall is about $112,000. That includes time off and time of work and not being able to honestly do the things you love to do after hand surgery that has gone wrong, with really a problem that most people don't really know that they're going to have an issue with it, with internal scarring, when they go in to have the procedure. So what you see here is going to be our B3 gel system. So it's a dual chambered syringe, something that most doctors are used to using, with several products already out on the marketplace, not in the barrier space. But you can see as it goes through the mixing tip and is applied over the tendon, it actually conforms over that tendon, creating this barrier that allows nutrients to flow through and to help with the healing process, but keeps a lot of the fibroblast out, which causes the adhesions. Mm-hmm. So here's just a final image of the B3 gel system. You can see on the left-hand side, there's a blue cartridge. This solution is a naturally derived, patent-protected solution that was developed by our co-founder and CEO, Tim Keene. He started for over 10 years between his undergraduate and his PhD at the University of Pittsburgh, and then studied it in a 3 years thereafter at Imperial College in London in a postdoctoral fellowship. The applicator tip that you see is a very simple, very intuitive device to use. And that tip you see there has a lot of IP around it as well. It was developed by our other co-founder, Alex Smith, who is a Texas A&M biomechanical engineer, worked at St. Luke's in their heart center, and had developed several different products as well. So his mechanical background in medical device is very unique. When these two were formed together at the J&J Innovation Labs, this was the product that came out, was the B3 gel system. So, as we've done the market intel over the last, really 5 years, since the company's been around since 2020, but really going deep in the last 3, we've talked to over 250 surgeons across various subspecialties, and have all said that, really adhesions and internal scarring and decreasing range of motion is a real problem out there. And there's really not a lot out that can help them protect that patient and their recovery. Some of these doctors have actually really enjoyed getting to know us, so that they've actually invested in our company. And you can see from the quote here from Dr. Hamid, there's really, adhesions, are a big problem, and to have a product that is very easy to use would be ideal. The performance has been validated so far in preclinical work. We've had preclinical testing going on now for a little over 10 years since Tim started studying it. We've seen with this product in the tendon market and orthopedics specifically, reduced scarring. So you've seen adhesion scores go down, and you've seen the increased range of motion go up. The image you see up there of the actual blue gel over a tendon is in a rabbit's model, but you can see that visibility that the blue offers. And we believe that that's a very unique component to our product and allows for the surgeon to have the utmost visibility on the targeted tissue that he's applying the B3 gel to. We've undergone the manufacturing process, and we've scaled up leading up to our clearance. We've partnered with an ISO 13485 manufacturer. This is allowing us to have low COGS and high margins, and we believe that we can address the amount of cases that we see coming our way over the next couple of years. So when we look at the market opportunity, we focused in on tendon and ligament, but we drilled down into that hand, wrist, foot, and ankle market. That 230 million represents about what is spent today with other barrier products out in the marketplace. If you start to reach out and go deeper into the hand, wrist, foot, and ankle market, there are several other procedures that our product can actually address that the other products cannot. And then if you look further out into the shoulder and knee as well, we can address that other products can't. And the reason for that being is when you saw the device, that was a 6 centimeter tip. We actually offer a 15 centimeter long applicator tip. So this allows us to have an MIS approach application going, which has been validated in studies at UPMC, down in Austin at a couple of surgery centers, and then even in our own labs. Further expansion leads us into the nerve. It could be peripheral nerve, could be spine, and even potential clinic use, as we have several doctors that we're working with to address innovation to be used as a clinic setting. So we've talked a little bit about some of these products that are out there that can't do what we can do with our gel forming, with the blue visibility, and the being able to go MIS procedures. But Dr. Steve Moran, who is he's a plastic surgeon and reconstruction up at Mayo, but he's also our chief of our advisory board. For him, he sees the gel formulation as the best way to get the barrier to the patients. When you look at the wraps that are on the market, whether it's amniotic wraps, whether it's other wraps that are out there that are not amniotic and could be natural or even synthetic, you're having to manipulate that tissue, which is even furthermore causing more damage and potential more risk of adhesions and internal scarring on these patients. Whereas what you've seen in the videos and you've seen now in the presentation, our gel just naturally flows over and you don't have to manipulate the targeted tissues as much and cause even more risk for internal scarring. So our product is patent protected. Mainly the patents align around the mixing tip and around the gel formulation. We listened to our doctors and they said, hey, give me something flowable, give me something that's natural and biocompatible, and give me something that's intuitive in design. We added in the blue because of the visualization. We've heard that some products they can't see when it's applied, and we believe that the blue is going to give that opportunity to see where you place it on the target tissues. So our launch will be starting first full year in 2026, but we've already started to launch here now in the back end of Q2 2025. Where we're starting is in the hand and wrist. As we move through the submission process and approvals, we start seeing more users inside those systems, which gives us a first year range of about $3 million in sales. We're targeting initially 20 to 30 surgeons across 10 locations. When we go into years 2 and 3, you start to see the sports medicine application and trauma application applied. We've talked to surgeons at UPMC. We've talked to other surgeons across the country. All of them have validated it in the lab for certain procedures that they want to see solutions for that are currently not available because of our gel formulation and the MIS. And then as getting into the peripheral nerve and spine, you'll see where it really starts to take traction as the cases and the market expands. So the team is consisting of the 2 co-founders. Our CEO is Tim Keene. He's a technical background with his studies at the University of Pittsburgh and Imperial College. Alex Smith, Texas A&M, and he's worked in the Texas Heart Center. Myself and my commercial team that I put together in an advisement role right now, combined, we have over 6 exits. And then we brought on Tom Dugan as our chairman of the board. Tom served as president of North America for Smith & Nephew and has also led CE roles at BioTissue and sat on the board at Amniox and various other companies and startups. So where we go from here, we really do view B3 Gel System as a platform. We're going to start in extremity ortho because we know that there's actually a market there that's using these products. We feel like there's enough space or enough volume out there for several companies to participate and compete in the space. And then as we move into trauma, sports medicine, as we move into nerve and spinal and carpal tunnel, we've got plastics. And then with the ultimate hope and aim is to get into general surgery, where that does cause a lot of issues, especially in women's health, where you've got a lot of endometriosis that we think our product can potentially be utilized. So far funding and our roadmap, we were founded in 2020, 23 and 24 just recently. We ramped up our hydrogel production. We've gotten the ISO 10993 certification, and then the CMO device production started, and we've been able to scale that up. We submitted for our 510K. We've gotten our 510K now as of June 7th. And then here you'll see this Australian clinical study. This is a study that we've been in the talks of doing and starting. It's just now starting this month. The data that comes out of that will allow us to support our larger launch in 2026. And then we're going to be doing some post-market clinical studies as well at very specific sites with very specific indications to help drive the data into that launch to help out with the marketing efforts and adoption efforts. We do believe that by 2027, there is an opportunity for an exit potential. We've seen some comparables out there that have ranged from 250 to 300 million. Just another round of company highlights. So we were founded in Texas at the TMC at the Texas Medical Center. We've gone through various incubators and accelerators. We've been awarded NIH grants. We have so far four international patent families in prosecution. We've been issued the one patent right now on the B3 gel formulation, with another pending on the tip. We have our FDA clearance, and then commercialization starting in the second half of 2025. And then our Series A starting with $8 million as our goal. It started this month. So the investment opportunity is $8 million. To date, we've raised 6.2. 3 of that came out of the Super Seed round, which was oversubscribed. And then this will help us fuel our pilot U.S. commercialization launch and an indication expansion, and then also lead us to hopefully comparable exits of 250 million to 300 million as shown before. Some of the notable investors so far are Mayo Clinic and Meta Angels and Texas Medical Center, along with several angel groups and private families. And that's it, TJ.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Great presentation. We'll turn it over now to the panel for any questions.
Yeah, Chris, very good. I like your delivery on that too. A lot of confidence. The thing I would say right off the bat is, man, you can swim in indications with this. And, you said platform technology, and I get it. And it makes sense why you're choosing the extremity market. I mean, it's one of the fastest growing segments in all of ortho and sports med and whatnot. My question is, in the process of getting the future indications, has FDA given you any idea as to whether it's a new 510 or is it a letter to file?
Yeah, so anything that's going to be indicated for ligaments and tendons under our current IFU, so think of sports medicine with rotator cuff or doing quad repair, that is not a 510K. Now, as we go into nerve, as we go potentially into a clinic setting, then yes, we need to have a 510K separate on that. Letter to files would be potentially some innovation we have for the applicator tip to make it a little bit more MIS.
Okay.
That we won't talk about right now, but that would be a letter to file.
Okay. And the other question I had was, did they require, have you done, we'll call it elimination or toxicity studies relative to the material?
Yes, we did. And there was a requirement during the submission process. So we're We're
And
all
you
good.
pass flying colors. Good.
Pass with flying colors, correct.
Chris, maybe talk a little bit about the resorption profile and some ways that you think this is going to position you guys. It's a fast growing space, as we know, love this space. So some key differentiators that maybe will intrigue investors.
Sure. So the resorption time on it is 30 days. We know that the fibroblast is the most prolific in the 5 to call it 10-day range post-operatively. So come out of surgery, 5 days, after surgery, nothing much is going on, then that's your biggest chance for adhesions to begin. Our product, or B3 gel, I should say, not our product, once it sits on the tendon and when we talked about conforming, especially when it hits body temperature, it will sit there and act as a barrier for that 30-day period. We do know, though, that it's probably closer to anywhere, 12 days that it just goes out of the body. When we did terminations on our chickens and our turkeys and our mice, there was no product that was left to be seen at 4 weeks and 6 weeks. So we know that the product, it leaves the site that you've targeted. And in those studies, we definitely saw a decrease in adhesions and obviously better range of motion as well.
Good. Thanks.
Chris, just kind of trying to get an understanding a little bit of your commercial strategy. You said 820,000 procedures kind of in the middle hands space that you're targeting. And there's a 20% reoperation. So what are you targeting kind of for your first sort of use case? And presumably most of these cases, I would think, are going to be done in an ASC. So how does the cost create some friction for you? And what are you doing to sort of address that need?
Yeah, so great question. Our targeted areas are ASCs, but we also have a lot of level 1 trauma. So we feel like, the level 1 traumas are taken care of with the DRG. No problem there. As you get into the ASC component, we've had multiple conversations with ASC managers, CEOs, owners, the doctors themselves. And, it's a black box, right? Nobody's going to really ever give you the secret sauce. I tell people, it's like your mom won the chocolate cake at the state fair, and then her friend won it the next year, but they're not going to give each other the recipe. And that's what they're not going to give us. But conversations have led to, look, if a doctor sees the value in it for a particular procedure, which leads to where are we targeting? So this would be TINO licensed procedures. It's that second operation in the ASC setting. It would be for perineal tendon repair in the foot and ankle. You would see potentially in the wrist for tendons that might adhere to distal radius plates, although with current technology, volar plating, it's not as bad anymore, but that is a topic. The feedback has been, because you don't have the reimbursement, we generally have busy enough surgeons that bring in such a high volume that if these doctors want to use a product that is, at the price range we're going out at, which is, somewhere between $2,700 and $3,000, that, they're willing to let them use it. Now, if a surgeon comes in that only does 3 cases a week at that facility and is taking longer than normal, that's something that they're not going to allow. So we're educating our teams already. So we have, we have 10 distributors we've already identified. We have several that have already returned contracts, and we've actually started active submissions at hospitals. We're going to work really closely, especially those ASCs, with those managers and really try to pick the cases that we think we can help so that they don't get the denials. We're going to take a very methodical approach to and use this, call it the next 6-7 months leading into year 1 to understand the product and understand the reimbursement side as well. And I see Jerry shaking his head because I know, this one company in particular that he knows well has done a really good job of taking that approach as well. So we're,
Chris, if we can ever figure out that black box you alluded to, with the CFOs that seem to control ASCs, you can write a book and get rich and you're already good looking. Have you thought about some economic models? I mean, one of your first few slides, this is a huge honking problem. And the soft costs associated with tissue tethering and the lack of recovery, it's significant. So have you guys contemplated ways to maybe create an economic pathway to demonstrate the value?
Yeah, so we've engaged now for the last, call it year, with a reimbursement specialist who has put together a pathway for us. We hope that with the data we're collecting in these 3 locations, and some of the data we're going to get out of Australia that'll be minimal, will allow us to then use that data to present for some type of economic, reimbursement pathway. But really the hope is, and the aim for this next 2 years is to get into some key institutions, get into the hands of some key users that are very vocal about the problem, and then really innovate inside the sports medicine world, because of our unique application with the extended tip, and with there being no way right now to help the adhesions, whether it be shoulder or in the knee. We feel like we offer a better solution, and we'll work from there on the economic impact.
I have one more question for you, Chris.
Yeah.
And more than anything, it's related to, the call point, right? Because, it's an application, and sure, it can be at the pitch sink. It can be, in the OR. It can be in the clinician's office. In the process of doing that, right, that's sort of kind of a sub point to what I want to make. What are you doing to really drive this from a VAC analysis committee standpoint? Have you guys put together, those materials, and it sort of kind of plays off Jerry's question a little bit, so that they get, without a doubt, the economic benefit of it?
Yeah. So one of the other things that I got to applaud Tim and Alex for taking my advice early on was, we have engaged with an individual that will solely help us with the VAC submission. This has been his job for the better part of 10 years. I don't want to say he's a corporate accounts guy, because he won't tell you that he's a corporate accounts guy. His prior CEO will just tell you that he is the czar of submissions, and he has put together a beautiful VAC packet for us and VAC submission. I'll tell you, one of the guys just recently put it through a hospital in Houston, and he said it was probably the easiest he's ever done, because he had all the data there. At least the CPT data. We've been utilizing MedScout. I know a lot of people use Acuity. I really like MedScout for a lot of reasons. And we've used that to help us identify the CPT codes, help identify volume, and really look in and go, where is it potentially easier to get into these hospitals through VAC submission, and regionally, versus let's just go shotgun start. But the VAC packet, it's a thing of beauty, and I applaud Jack Gardella, if he's on here. I applaud him for what he made for us.
Awesome.
Worth noting, MedScout is a Austin-based company. They're just doing fantastic things.
Yeah, they're great.
So Chris, one last question really about the IP. When you get into these polymers, and there's the importance of having a really effective moat as it relates to IP is really heightened. So how confident are you that big J&J or somebody can't just swoop in and they've got the channel and they can just kind of wipe you out?
So the IP, I'll give it to Tim and Alex and our attorneys. They've really created a wall around the technology. So it's not even a polymer; it's naturally derived. It's protein derived, and it's where it's coming from that makes it so unique and makes the process so unique. We can actually trace back all the way to the grandmother of these pigs through their ear tags, and the process that's used to get it to where it is in the solution state is a very tight IP wall.
Are you doing the dishes while we're talking right now?
That is not me. No, I'm not. I'm looking around, and I wish there was somebody here to cook for me.
Hey, I don't know how much more time we have, but Chris, are you now moving to your Series A? And if you're not, does the seed have a conversion, a save, or something that converts over when you raise the first full round?
Yeah, so we've just finished our last seed round, so we're now done with that and moving into the A rounds. That officially opens today here on MSK, and yes, so a lot of those individuals were already, they followed through, but they converted over. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Chris.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Good job. Great.
Absolutely. All right. Let's move it to Justin Zananko at SynerFuse. let you take it away from here.
Thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate us being able to share SynerFuse and being able to be on here and really share the exciting thing that we are doing with SynerFuse. So SynerFuse is an integrated novel stimulator that goes at the same time as a spine fusion surgery, post decompression, before the surgeon closes up. And what we're really targeting is low back pain, which affects 90 million people, over 1 million procedures per year. And we've completed a 15-patient feasibility study that demonstrated safety and gave us efficacy signals. And from that, we are now to the stage where we're building our NeuroFuse system.
Does it show me back on?
Can you guys hear me?
Well, I turned that off.
Yeah, I think someone wasn't muted. Keep going, Justin.
Okay, perfect. And so where we are at the stage is to build our device and to go for a national pivotal study, which, because we're class 3 and we're on the dorsal root ganglion, we have unique IP that combines spine surgery with stimulation to go after chronic damaged nerves. We have 11 patents issued and 5 patents pending. And we are in the United States, Canada, Australia. We'll also be expanding additional patents from our feasibility study into Europe, Japan, and Korea. So we are a Reg D offering. We're in a Series A. And with the Reg D offering, we have the normal risk factors that is in our private placement memorandum, which we can circulate post this if anyone has an interest. So the problem that we are going after is chronic low back pain and leg pain in the United States and the problem with opioids. As I discussed, over 90 million people are affected. There's over 1 million back surgeries, from spinal fusions to decompressions to laminectomies. 100% of patients are prescribed opioids post-fusion surgery. And 40% of those patients are untreatable due to the chronic nature of the pain. Today's standard of care is when you have pain, you go see your primary care physician, you get indicated for a fusion because you have mechanical instability, so mechanical pain. And the problem is that when they fix the issue of the bone-on-bone, bone-on-nerve, the issue is you have not alleviated the chronic nature of the pain. And so with those damaged nerves, those nerves don't get treated. And what a lot of people know is fusion begets fusion. And 2 to 5 years later, you might be lucky to get a neurostimulator. And with that, because of this unique problem, our primary inventor, Dr. Park, said, why don't we address the chronic nature of the nerves at the point of spinal fusion? And so what we've done, and we're the only ones in the world that have done this with 15 patients, at the time post-fusion decompression has been successfully done, our surgeons lay leads right on the nerves. This was done in a feasibility study. And by doing that, we're able to actually build the smallest stimulator in the world with maximum stimulation capacity because we're directly on the nerve. So we are going to be 4 leads, 9 cc's, 1/4 the size of the study device. We have our manufacturer in place, which is Valentium, to build our device. And the device is controlled by an app on your phone and also is available for a clinician's programmer. For driving adoption and commercialization, we are going to work with fusion hardware agnostic. So Stryker, Medtronic, Globus, Zimmer. We're not going to have the surgeons change who they utilize for hardware, rods and screws. But what we are going to do is we are going to combine that with our device to go after and give both neuropathic and mechanical solution for spine fusion patients. And there's multiple ways for commercialization: partnering with fusion companies, the strategics below, building our own distribution, building a distribution network that already sells at the hospitals, or building an internal sales force, which can be expensive, but we're going to be pursuing all options on the table. Our feasibility study was done in the University of Minnesota and South Bend Orthopedics. That was 15 patients. Both Dr. Law and Dr. Park have come on board as our Chief Medical Officer and Chief Technology Officer. We're looking to expand to our pivotal trial from New York, Florida, Texas to California, and additional sites that will be interested. From our clinical outcome finding data, we showed that in 15 patients, 71% improvement in low back pain, 69% improvement in leg pain. But some of the most impressive data is the disability improvement. 87% were either severe or crippled before surgery, and 13% were disabled post-surgery. So you see that the data has flipped from the beginning. And what's really interesting is disability is correlated with improvement in pain scores. Also, opioids. Every spinal fusion patient gets prescribed opioids due to the invasive nature of the surgery. Post 12 months, we're at 80% off of opioids. And this is some of the lowest opioid usage that we have seen from other data. Also, with disability improvements, another way to look at it, the average baseline was 52.6% severe disability. And what you see is right away at 12 weeks, disability drops to the low side of moderate at 27.5%. And then at 12 months, it continues to improve. Also, sleep quality continues to improve. 43% were bad or very bad. And at 12 months, we see it again, it flipped where only 7% had bad sleep at 12 months. So what it all comes down to is patients and patient outcomes. Better outcomes improve lives. We have Jason and Sarah. They have a star next to them because they become patient ambassadors. Jason is 2 years post-operative. Sarah's 3 years. They are pain-free. Also, Don, here she is enjoying a motorcycle ride. Here's Michael walking his dog. No one realizes how bad back pain is until you actually had it and how debilitating it is. And what we're going to play for you is you can hear the patient in their own words speak about it.
Most people 30, 40 years my senior could move around better than me. It didn't matter what I did, how I moved, I could not get comfortable at all. I mean, I was walking around with either a cane or a walker. And I couldn't get it out of bed, hardly take me half an hour, 45 minutes to do either. Get up in the morning and I sit up, and take my opioids and wait for them to kick in and be able to stand up and go about my daily business. And still I had to use a walker or a cane and use the wall to get myself around the house. I couldn't go outside, I couldn't have fun, I couldn't hang out with my kids and play with them because I was in too much pain.
Do you feel you're in control
of
your life again?
Absolutely. I can make decisions without clouded judgment, you know. I can do everything I need to do. I have not noticed emotional process. Like I can still bend and twist everything I used to do before the back kaput. I've been pain free since June. After I healed, from the surgery. The whole time I haven't not at all. It's very easy to go. Just go into the app. The generator comes on. It tells you which needs are where. And when you go highlight it on the part where it's at. So you know which part you're adjusting. So you have pain in that area, which I haven't. It'll adjust that area down. Pinpoints the area of the pain. Which nerve it is. Spent my whole life learning construction trades. I know all different types of construction trades, you know. My biggest thing is I love remodeling. You gotta gutting to fixing and then, you know, making it all beautiful again, you know. And I've done roofing my whole life, siding, framing, windows, doors, window wraps, door wraps. It was my passion. I spent so many years, 25 years learning it, you know. And then when I couldn't do it anymore, I'm just like, I got into real bad depression. They gave me my life back. Absolutely. I can get down on the ground and chase my grandkids around like I'm a little kid. So I'm gonna grow up with my grandkids. So, you know, I enjoy spending time with them.
Oh, Justin, I think you're muted here.
Yeah.
Back in.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So unfortunately, Jason is a very uncommon outcome for a 2-level fusion patient. And he had 2 prior surgeries before and scar tissue, and he would have been a case that would have been passed on in traditional surgery. So these kind of patients are out there, and these are patients that have chronic pain, which is defined as greater than a 5 out of 10, greater than 3 months. 240,000 patients today out of the 600,000 that are treated, we think are an addressable market for us, which 170,000 for the TLIF, we call it the e-TLIF, which is our patented procedure, is a $4.2 billion addressable market. And that's what our feasibility study is showing, that this is clinically necessary. Neurostimulation market today, if you look at stimulators, there's a vast group of them. They're all fighting for the same people that have failed their prior procedures. We're going after a whole new market, just like Inspire Medical went after sleep apnea. We're going after spine fusion patients. We have a 41 million, post-money market cap with our Series A. We have a team of neurosurgeons who perform the procedures. We have patent attorneys. We have device, and you have myself, who's the co-founder and CEO, and also co-inventor with Dr. Lal and Dr. Park. And our Series A offering, we have raised 12.1 million in the Series A stock, and we're raising another 4.5 million. And we are a Reg D offering, 50,000 minimum, accredited investors only. We have a PPM, we have third-party due diligence reports, and we are working with broker dealers. And this is the use of proceeds. 75% is to finish the build of the NeuroFuse system. 25% is for operations. And we have multiple exit strategies. We're mainly focused on building our fully owned company to go IPO, but there's also multiple opportunities for strategic partnerships and acquisitions. And we've had talks with some of the strategics that are listed here. So happy to open it up to questions.
Great. Thanks, Justin.
Very good.
Heck,
I'll jump
go
in
first.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead, Jerry.
Drew. No, Drew.
After you.
Age before beauty, please.
All right. It's a super interesting platform you have, Justin, and seems like a really logical extension. So congrats on that innovation. The question is sort of simple. What apart from the size and that it's placed directly on the nerves, what differentiates this system, the SynerFuse, from every other peripheral nerve system out there that can, it seems, from a uneducated view, sort of be applied in this case? What would allow you to sort of own that segment?
So because of where we are on the dorsal root ganglion, we are a class 3 device category, which means that in order for that, you'd have to go through a pivotal trial, but also we have numerous patents on method design, having the smaller device, because you're directly on the nerve at the time of a spinal fusion post decompression surgery, you're able to put leads easily accessible, which today DRG is not accessible. Takes a very skilled pain physician to place. And the only group that has patents that's in the thoracic, which is above the fusion because you can't access it because of scar tissue, is Abbott. But we also have patents that are anytime you open up on the back on the spine, you place a stimulator in, that is our technology.
It's a great answer.
So, Justin, a variation of what Drew just asked, you're saying that existing neurostimulation technology cannot look at this and say, hey, this is clever, and find a way to just lock onto it also?
So you have the type of customer, which is going to be your spine surgeons who do not do neurostim. So that's your first, because anything that looks like a neurostimulator, which are, hockey puck sizes, they will immediately reject. Being small and going to be fitting within their workflow, which is the single incision, which we also have patents on. That makes it another step. But the reality of it is that you have, due to the very nature of class 3 devices, most strategics will not go after a class 3. And even we've had conversations with multiple strategics, they're all set to buy you post, as you go into your pivotal trial. They're not set up anymore to really try to steal. And if they were to try to do this on their own, it would cost them probably $150 million and take them 10 to 15 years. And they probably still, they wouldn't have probably the commercial success because of just the way they're set up today.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm sorry, Justin, what is your reimbursement strategy? Curious, because obviously there are end taps that you can go after to help. But what do you currently have in mind? Obviously there might some iterations down the line.
So one is with the pivotal trial, you're establishing the clinical need because we're going to be a randomized trial, which we've talked to the FDA about. And because we're using both ortho and neurostim areas of the FDA, the ortho really wants to see healing differences between standard of care, which is fusion, and fusion plus our device. With that said, we believe we are going to be able to leverage the existing DRG code that is used for in the thoracic epidural approach, which is Abbott, got the coding for. We have a reimbursement expert by the name of Jeff Dan. Jeff Dan believes we can utilize that code. So when we have 50 patients in our pivotal trial, we will be going to the societies to get them on board utilizing that code together. And once we have FDA approval, we believe we can utilize that code in conjunction with societal support. And with that societal support, we would be a category 1. So you'd have instant reimbursement. But even if you didn't get that, you would be able to be a class 3, and you could go through that process, which would take 5 publications, and you'd be doing all the same steps with the data and the publications, getting support. But, you don't know until you get there. But because of the clinical need, and we've seen this with Inspire Medical, where they went out and got a code with sleep apnea, we're seeing with the results we're seeing, we believe we're gonna be able to make that case and also go after the private payers like unions, firefighters, police officers, military, veterans, to get them on board.
Yeah, I had a quick question for you, Justin. There is a lot of tumult right now, right, in the spine industry. You look around and it's like people, shifting the deck chairs on the Titanic, and just a ton of that going on. Something that I saw from my good friend Charles Hamilton at the Cabo meeting just a couple weeks ago was he showed a slide, and this is a challenge question as you think about the future. He showed a slide that showed that if you took out all of that deck shifting chairs on the Titanic, that in the last 4 years, the acquisitions that have been accomplished in the name of spine have all been pain management. And so I look at that, and I look at this growing trend of the interventionalists, and it's not, I'll say it this way, it's getting aggressive. I mean, for the first time in my career, I'm going to go to the pain management meeting down in Miami in about a week and a half. And I'm going to be scoping out who's doing what and whatever else. But think about that as a surgeon base. They're going to, we'll say, garner more power than they've ever had. And I think there's about to be an explosion that could benefit you, but it depends on what that focus is, right? If the surgeons are the ones putting the cans in today, what does this mean if it's the interventionalists that we'll say had the greater opportunity?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, the one thing that we do have, which makes us very unique, and this is unique amongst stimulation companies, is we're going after a whole new market of the neurosurgeons who are going to be more accepting of this, but then also the orthopedic surgeons of utilizing this as a way not to fail. And think about more complicated procedures like diabetic neuropathy, where you have fusion patients that are diabetes patients, and the surgeons are worried about them not, perceiving pain correctly. We're going after a whole new market. And, if you do have like the combination of a spine surgeon with these pain guys, depending on the hospital system or depending on how they are arranged, you could see the spine guy being paired up with a pain physician. However, from the spine guys that I know and I've interacted with, they do not like to share patients.
Not yet.
Yeah.
And they look down upon the pain physicians, which is really, like, they don't even consider them being in the same, class.
True. It's just that the procedures are slinging that way faster and faster.
Yeah, I want to honor, what Chris said is pretty darn smart. I know some spine surgeons in Austin, 3 of them actually, who are doing neurostimulation. And if you own an ASC or, participate in owning an ASC, the facility fee associated with putting in a spinal cord stimulator is crazy. Mm-hmm. So Justin, pay attention. I think Chris is right that lines are getting blurred. There are a lot of spine surgeons who are doing neurostimulation. There's no bridges burned. They only have to get a 50% pain reduction to get it approved. Quick, easy procedure, nice pro fee, and of course, nice facility fee. And it just makes me think you've got to find a way to latch onto that dynamic, because there's going to be neurostimulation companies out there who are going to like what you're doing, right? So you just have to think about how you can be in the right place at the right time.
I agree. I mean, with what Jerry's saying, it's not if it's going to happen, and it's not when it's going to happen.
What's happening?
It's happening.
Yeah.
It is absolutely happening. And it's exciting to me for somebody that's been in spine now for 20 years, because I'm like, it's really been getting boring. And what I mean is on the deck chairs being shuffled around between companies, there is change in the mix in a major way. And so just keep that in mind. I like the idea about IPO too, by the way. I would do it sooner on the 2 to 5 year range than the later, because that IPO market has just gone live again meaningfully in the musculoskeletal space. I think you probably saw the news about Carlsmed.
Oh.
Yeah, Chris, think about this. Jason Hannon bet his career on moving from hardware to neuromodulation. So this is happening. Like I said, spine doctors have jumped in. They're doing it. And I like where you're kind of at this nexus of the two things. I think you just need to really contemplate how you can kind of have pole position, because they're already doing it, right? They're already doing a version of this. Now, they're not doing both a fusion and neurostimulation that I'm aware of. But yeah,
Well, and
Chris
it's
is
also,
on it. I mean, it's a big emerging trend.
yeah, the other point of it too is the type of procedure that we're doing this in is in the TLIF. So we call it the e-TLIF, which is trademarked. And the reason why it needs to be a TLIF is because that's the way where you get the full decompression of the nerves. And it really allows for the success of those patients to be much higher than what we've seen out there in literature and the data.
Chris, TLIF, what, 70% of the time, 65, 70?
I would say it's not as high these days as it used to be.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has been the erosion because of anterior approach, but it's still a substantial amount. Yeah.
Good. You know, Justin, when you were doing the presentation, you said a to be determined on your study. And then, you know, just now you mentioned the word 50 patients. Do you know when you'll get some type of guidelines on what that study is going to look like? Because obviously that's going to consume time and money.
Yeah. So right now we're looking at between 120 to 150, and it's really based upon the power of the feasibility study. So the early data we have is an 80% responder rate versus today's standard of care, which is 50%. And so when we do a 2-to-1 randomization, the reason why I have TBD is because, you know, depending on, you know, how we go about it, it could be less or it could be more, but we feel comfortable with the 120 number. And when we go through it, we're contemplating the next round, which would be probably a Series B, that would fund the study, and that's going to be about $100,000 a patient. But what has really helped us lower our costs of the study is, you got to remember, we're utilizing standard of care, which is fusion already, and you're just adding this. So we just have to pay for the device and the follow-up. But the insurance companies in our feasibility study, and I expect it in our pivotal, will pick up the cost of the fusion, which is not a cheap procedure.
Good on you that you can do that. I mean, I get it. But still, I mean, these are not the olden days. 100,000 patients, still a lot.
So one thing I'm wondering, and I'd love your thoughts on, is because these patients are so severely disabled when they have a failed back, have you thought about potentially a humanitarian device exemption for kind of getting some patient flow to prove efficacy and show, you know, that it really works?
You know, that's a really good point. You know, we're looking at all opportunities, but we've been so focused on just the pivotal that really has not been contemplated. But anything that we can do to help us get to revenue sooner, and we've also applied for breakthrough status as of July 1st based on our study results. And I will say this, with the new administration and with RFK Jr. and with where Congress is going, they don't want opioids. No one's ever died of stimulation. I even had a patient call me yesterday who was one of the failed people who didn't have 50% reduction in pain. And when I asked him, should we take out your device? The answer was no. 30 to 40% is better than nothing. And this person also has lost 100 pounds and is no longer disabled. Now, we were able to have him change on his programming remotely without having to go in to see the doctor. And what's really important about that is this is going to change the way that we manage people with disability that need fusions. And you got to remember, when you get to a fusion, you've already exhausted every conservative procedure. So you have no other place to go. And when we look at what we're doing, especially on the drug side, and when we factor out the people who failed, now I had 2 failures because one person broke their neck during the study, which is an anomaly. And then we had another one who ended up having broke their ankle. And, I had no idea, and that skewed us on the opioids. But when you factor all that stuff in, I mean, the people who responded were reporting 100% pain relief, which you just don't see in either stim or in back fusion patients. So that's exciting for me because as the co-founder and as a personal investor with $2.5 million invested myself, like seeing those kind of results, it tells you that you got something, and then it's just a matter of being very efficient with your capital. So, like you said, you don't want to be burning money when you don't have to be. And we started this right before COVID. So we had delays there, and you learn the hand-to-hand combat with dealing with the universities all the way to dealing with the bureaucrats and also the spine surgeons themselves, who that was the hardest thing, was getting the first surgery done. Because you ask a spine surgeon, they don't fail. They don't have any failures. It's just those patients don't come back, right?
Right. Very true.
You're on
TJ,
mute, TJ. You're still on mute. So he was.
How about now?
You're good.
I'm there. All right. Well, thanks, Justin. That was a great presentation. We're really excited about where this is heading. Chris and Jerry are right. This is where the future is going. So just thank you for everything you're doing. Wish you the best of luck, and hopefully this spurs some additional conversations for you, and likewise for you, Chris, with TYBR. Thank you for everyone spending the afternoon with us at MSK Innovations. We're excited for the next event we have on August 6th. You can RSVP at msk-innovations.com. Hope everyone has a wonderful night. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Everyone.